All right. Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Brian Lance, and I'm here to just introduce, not really whatever it says in the program in terms of master of ceremony. I'm not really trying to fill that role, but we'll make some introductory remarks. But first of all, just some thank yous. We want to thank Tracy G. Community Center and their team, Melissa, Fareshka, Mark, and others that made this possible. They're sponsoring the event, and we here with the Schiller Institute and Solos are here, at their invitation. Secondly, of course, I want to thank the chorus, the whole chorus, who are here, all the work they put in. This is a volunteer amateur chorus, and you'll see the quality of that performance tonight, the quality of the work that's gone into this. And then I want to thank our maestro. We all owe a lot to Dorceel Duckins, our maestro. And also I want to thank our bass baritone, but also pianist, Joshua Diestabel. That's in the bass baritone section. We'll hear from him later on the keyboard. So you all have, I think, you have the program, and you can see what we're going to be performing tonight, and there's also the translations, so you can look that over now in the course of the performances, but also take it with you and consider it afterwards as well. And finally, I want to thank Ian Overington for doing up the programs. He's in our tenor section. Okay, so a few thoughts here to introduce the program. Yesterday was the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. And we're here to celebrate his life and his accomplishments, his legacy as a civil rights leader, profoundly, as a civil rights leader, as a husband and parent, as a minister, and really part of the institution of the presidency of the United States. If you think of the dialogue which he created with President Kennedy, but also with President Johnson, which resulted, the outcome of it was the civil rights legislation, and much more profoundly shaped the nation through his influence and the work of the civil rights movement and its influence on the institution of the presidency of the United States. That's something to think about. And as you may have noted otherwise in our program, we've dedicated tonight's performance to the memory of William Warfield, the great bass baritone, consummate musician who traveled the world as America's unofficial musical ambassador at the same time that King was leading the civil rights movement. William Warfield was all over the world. He helped break the color barrier in classical music. You may remember him from Showboat. He went on to win a Grammy for his performance of Abraham Lincoln and Aaron Copland's Abraham Lincoln work. He was the son of a sharecropping family, both sides of his family. They themselves were, their parents on both sides had been slaves. He was born in Arkansas, and there's a biography there. I won't continue, but I think there was a kind of collaboration. They crossed paths in Georgia in the 1950s. Reverend King and Bill Warfield. And Bill became a board member of the Schiller Institute for years and traveled the country, continuing as a teacher, working to revive the African American spiritual as part of the classical repertoire. He himself was fluent in German and Italian and performed in those languages, the works from Mozart to Brahms. But also the African American spiritual was a singular, he viewed it as Anton Dvorak and other composers have viewed it as a singular contribution that America could make to classical music. So that's a little bit on Bill. Now, we're here to celebrate the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Bill Warfield. We're here to celebrate them in song. And they would both fully appreciate this. Song has been with us before the written word. From generation to generation, important ideas, knowledge was passed down through song. Song made ideas memorable. Song captured ideas, captured conceptions, thought about the most profound ideas of man and nature in a way which the spoken word by itself could not. Song was really part of the poetic domain, a kind of transcendental domain. Think of the blind Homer. His works, the Iliad and Odyssey as we know them, were sung for hundreds, if not thousands of years, but at least hundreds of years before they were ever written down on paper. Likewise, the Vedas of India, of ancient India, were sung for thousands of years before they were written down in parchment in Sanskrit. This is what we're speaking of here in terms of song, great song, the classical repertoire of civilizations, is really a transcendental domain of beauty and metaphor, which leads the listener to truth. That's the idea of great classical music and the classical domain in every major civilization. Now, Martin Luther King was an organizer, he was a teacher and a man of the cloth. William Warfield was a great operatic baritone and teacher, as you'll hear him briefly here in a minute. Both, like precious others that have come and gone, sought to create a more just and beautiful humanity through beauty, through their example, and leading us to a more profound understanding of the truth. Now, just a word on metaphor. Consider, as an example, the words you know quite well from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. God's allowed me to go up to the top of the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. And he tells us that he may not make it there himself to see it. But my eyes have seen the glory. These words, these poetic ideas, can reach deeply into us. Like Lincoln's words at Gettysburg. Or in a different way, perhaps simple way, but profound, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. So where did Martin Luther King draw this metaphor from? Well, you may know it was from Moses. Moses was singing a song. It's there in Deuteronomy. It's 43 verses. He's there on Mount Nebo, or Nebo, depending on your pronunciation. And he's looking out into the promised land, which he's been told by God that he'll never step foot in himself. But he's looking out into the promised land. He can see the Dead Sea, he can see Bethlehem and Jerusalem. So here we have it. Here it is in the Bible in Deuteronomy. It's called Moses' Song in the St. John translation of the Bible. Moses' Song, 43 verses. We don't think of Moses singing, right? And we don't have the melody. We don't know the melody he was singing to, right? But we have the verses. And he's not singing about bemoaning his circumstance. He's singing in praise of God, of God's strength and justice. So think of that in terms of King and what he was conveying. So we're going to sing songs in a similar sense. Martin Luther King Jr.'s final political campaigns, as I'm sure you're aware of, were to end the Vietnam War and end the threat of World War, which he saw as a real calculable danger. And he launched his other final campaign was the Poor People's Campaign to end poverty. William Warfield was similarly, in his own way, so dedicated. We, the Schiller Institute, are also intent. This is an international effort, what I'm going to mention here briefly, so we invite you to join in this effort. Our intent on inspiring a summit of the world's leaders, Presidents Trump, Putin, Xi Jinping of China, to meet now, to map a pathway forward out of war towards peace, just thinking, as we should, of the events of the last weeks and recent month or two, and towards ending poverty for the sake of our posterity. But we are here tonight, or because of that, we're here tonight to sing some songs. And we'll hope you will be uplifted. You can see it's a varied program from Haydn to the African American spirituals. It's going to be performed at the lower Verdi tuning of C256 or A432, if you will, which is the tuning at which these pieces were actually composed. To set the stage, so to speak, we're going to hear a short clip or watch a short clip of William Warfield, and then we'll turn the program over to Maestro Duckins, and we'll come back to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King a little bit later in the program to hear him. So thank you for attention, and that's our introduction for this evening.
Actually, two things come to mind which were triggered by the wonderful speech and the question that the lady asked. And from the standpoint of an artist, what do you do where you encounter people who have not been really exposed to beauty as you know it, and how do you show them, or how do you get them to start thinking in those terms? And the one thing that triggered the big thing, which our wonderful lady said, is you have to yourself get all of the ugliness out of your mind first, and then start taking on a thing of beauty and relate to those things that you feel are beautiful, that are contributing to man's soul, not to menial things of any sort. It will govern what you look at on TV. It will govern what you read. It will govern what you decide to participate in. And as a result, you find that beauty starts coming into you. And when beauty starts coming into you and consuming you, then there is no other way for you to react than to spread that to other people. And it's amazing how a youngster can look at you and see something in you that will make him say, what is that I see? It's sort of like people who say, oh, I can see auras. I can see an aura around a person. When I see them, they're this, they're that, and so on and so forth. This kind of a thing that I'm talking about is the core to which the artist responds when he is performing for you. I can no more sing to you a Heine poem without knowing or having experienced, whether it be Schubert, Schumann, without knowing the poem itself and what Heine has put down on paper or what Goethe has put down on paper. And that is part of art. The technique is perfectly simple, as we've said. I can teach you how to sing, I can teach you how to produce notes, I can teach you how to phrase, I can teach you how to correctly say the words, I can teach you all of these things. But all of those things are merely the tools to express the beauty that is inside you. And when you have that, then you are ready to communicate that to other people. Now, I'm not saying that one should sit themselves up and just don't do anything except that you say considers beautiful, or you've got to also be aware of what ugliness is, because you cannot avoid ugliness unless you kind of recognize the culprit when you see it. And as our wonderful lady has said, the oligarchy has so many ways of confusing you by surrounding things that seem beautiful. When you investigate, you find underneath its ugliness. And that is the big thing with us. We have to examine things. My father used to have said something in his sermon once that has followed me all of my days, and I was quite young at the time. He said the Bible says we should go into the hedges and highways. We should go out and we should bring men in, and we should, if a person is down, we should go down and pick them up and bring them up. And he said, I warn you, if you are going to go into a nightclub and see somebody there that you want to bring out, or you want to deal with a youngster that's doing dope, or you want to deal with any of the ugliness things of life, be sure when you go down there that you have the strength for two to come up. Because you have to come up and bring somebody with you. That's the strength of two. And this is the kind of a thing that I mean when I say we got to recognize evil, know what we're dealing with, and then how to combat it. And to me, it reminds me of a situation in which I was with Pablo Casals, the great cellist and conductor, and we were rehearsing something one afternoon, and it was a Bach cantata, and it was one of those things in which everything happened in the rehearsal, and we finished the piece and we just sat there in silence with a catharsis of having experienced something great that had come amongst us while we were doing it. And I looked up, and the maestro had a tear rolling down his cheek, and he said, "Aren't we fortunate to be musicians?" I've never forgotten that moment, because he outlined for us the profession that we were in is a profession of calling and a profession of art and a profession that when you're in, you are closest to God, I believe, when you are performing, because you are a vehicle for that wonderful thing that we're getting from on high that comes through us and makes us a bigger person and makes us the vehicle to transport that to other people. But you have to be, as they say in television, online to get it. And I adjure you, get your act together so that you surround yourself with beauty, so that you surround yourself with an understanding of what evil is and how to combat it. And then when you look at a youngster who is out there on dope, You have something more to bring to him. You have the strength of two rather than yourself alone. Thank you.
From si può. Signore, signori, scusatemi se dal sol mi presento. Io sono il prologo, poiché in scena ancor le antiche maschere dell'autore. In parte vor riprendere le vecchie usanze e a voi di nuovo inviami. Ma non per dirvi come pria le lacrime che noi versiamo son fosse degli spasimi e dei nostri martiri, non allarmatevi. No, no, l'autore ha cercato invece pingervi uno squarcio di vita. Egli ha per massima sol che l'artista un nom e che per gli uomini scrivere deve ed al vero ispirava sì un nido di memoria in fondo all'anima contava un giorno ed ei con vere lacrime triste ei singhiozzi il tempo i battevano. Dunque vedrete amar siccome siamo non essere umani. Vedrete di noi i tristi frutti del dolor rispossimi, urli di rabbia outrette e risaciniche. E voi piuttosto che le nostre povere cabane di strioni che lo stranime considerate voi che siamo uomini di carne ed ossa e che di questor fondo mondo al pari di voi spiriamo ora ascoltate come li ho svolto. Andiamo in comiciate.
everyone. So there's a third celebration that we're going to celebrate all year on this one, because this year is not only the 100th birthday of our friend, the immortal William Warfield, it's also the 250th birthday of Ludwig van Beethoven. He was born on December 16, 1770. And if he and Martin had walked the earth at the same time, they were definitely kindred spirits. And so our little chorus is going to be looking at Beethoven's work in many fashions the way throughout the entire year. I'm going to give a little song from Beethoven's one and only opera, which was dear to the heart of and is dear to the heart of Helga LaRouche, who's the president of the Schiller Institute. It's called Fidelio, and it was inspired by events around the American Revolution, and it's about a courageous young woman that goes into hell, basically, to free her husband from unjust imprisonment. However, I'm not going to give you the top of the line here. I'm going to give someone who hasn't quite made it there to paradise yet, who is known as Rocco, the jailer, which the young woman, Leonora, puts herself in employment to this man to try to find her husband. And in this one, Rocco's giving some sound advice to the young couple that he thinks he's going to marry his daughter to this bright young man. But see, in marriage, you don't just need love, you need money, right? But he's a little bit deluded because the bright young man that he's chosen for his daughter is a woman. So there you go. So there you go. So this is Rocco, the jailer. Nun, meine Kinder, ihr habt euch doch recht herzig lieb, nicht wahr? Aber das ist noch nicht alles, was zu einer guten, vergnügten Haushaltung gehört. Man braucht auch. Hat man nicht auf Gold beneben, kann man nicht ganz glücklich sein. Traurig schleppt sich vor das Leben, manche Kummer stellt sich ein, manche Kummer stellt sich ein. Doch wenn's in den Taschen fein klingelt im Brot, da hält man das Schicksal gefangen und Macht und Liebe. Wer schafft dir das Gold und stillet das kühnste Verlangen, und stillet das kühnste Verlangen. Das Glück dient sie ein Knecht für so, es ist ein schönes, schönes Ding, das Gold, das Gold. Es ist ein schönes Ding, das Gold, ein goldenes, goldenes Ding, das Gold, das Gold. Wenn sich nicht mit nicht verbindet, ist und bleibt ein Summe klein. Wer bei Tisch nur Liebe findet, wird nach Tisch hungrig sein, wird nach Tisch hungrig sein. Drum leckt der zu voll und gnädig und hoch und segne und lenkt euer Streben, das Liebchen in Arme, das Liebchen in Arme, im Beutel das Gold, so mögt ihr 4 Jahre durchs Leben, so mögt ihr 4 Jahre durchleben. Das Glück dient sie ein Knecht für so, das ist ein mächtig Ding, das Gold, das Gold. Es
Das ist ein mächtig Ding, das Gold, ein mächtig, mächtig Ding, das Gold, das Gold. Es ist ein mächtig Ding, das Gold, das Gold.
I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
At the heart of their concerns, the square has often loomed large and loud. Why are you speaking about the war, Dr. King? Why are you joining the voices of dissent? Peace and civil rights don't mix, they say.
The nonviolent resistor not only avoids external physical violence, but he avoids internal violence of spirit. He not only refuses to shoot his opponent, but he refuses to hate him. He stands with understanding goodwill at all times.
Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards self-destruct. These great experiences are not based on a bargaining relationship, not an if faith, but a though faith. I'm coming to my conclusion now. I want to say to you this morning, my friends, that somewhere along the way, you should discover something that's so dear, so precious to you, so eternally worthful, you will never give it up. You ought to discover some principle. You ought to have some great faith that grips you so much that you will never give it up.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land.
Methodist till I die. I've been received devil's gonna get you for sure. Now ain't them hard trials, great tribulation, ain't them hard trials. I'm bound to leave this life.
Out of his mouth came fire and smoke. Looked all around me, he looked so fine. I asked my Lord if all were mine.
Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray.
Jordan River is chilly and cold. It chills the body, but not the soul. There ain't but one train upon this track. It runs to heaven and right back.
Every time I pray, every time I feel my lost, I will pray. Every time I will pray, I will pray. Every time I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I'll pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, Sooner we'll be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. Sooner we'll be done with the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Sooner we'll be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. I want to meet my mother. I want to meet my mother. I want to done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. No more, no more weeping and wailing, no more, no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing. I'm going to live with God. No more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing, weeping and wailing, weeping and wailing, weeping, no wailing, no more. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world, the troubles of the world. Soon I will be done with the troubles of the world, going home to live with God. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I'm going to live with God. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I want to meet my Jesus. I'm going to live with God. I'm going to live with God. I'm going to live with God. Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. The gospel trains are coming, I hear it close at hand. I hear them car wheels rumbling and rolling through the land. Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. I hear the train a-comin', she's coming round the curve. She's loosened all her steam and brakes and straining every nerve. Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. The fare is cheap and all can go, the rich and poor are there. No second class aboard this train, no difference in the fare. Get on board, 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 get on board. There's room for many a more. Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. Get on board, little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for many a more. Woo!
bless and keep.
And come join our chorus.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Please do.
Yes.